Every YouTube programmer I've seen recently seems to be drinking something while they're recording, so I thought, hey, I'd give it a try. So, guys, this is my 2006 Menku Pure, and it's one of my favorite. So good. Hey guys, what's up? Ombarus here, and welcome to another episode of my Roguelike Space Opera game development series. Last week, I talked about the fact that I kind of had the whole loop from start to death, and this week I spent some time working on polishing this loop. So a lot of little features went in this week. The first one was implementing the menus for the beginning of the game and the death screen at the end. And then I implemented the aggressive AI, because up till now my AI were only running away, but now they've got guns and they know how to use it, so watch out. Also, now that the player can lose health, I had to kind of think of a way for him to regain his health. And I thought it was kind of strange for a spaceship to recover health every couple of turns. And so what I decided to go is implement the shield, which will use some energy to regenerate after a fight. Also, considering how important it is for a roguelike to have good random generation, I decided to take a randomizer that I had in C++ and try to port it into gdscript so I could use that. It's based on a Mersenne twister, and I really like this implementation. And I thought I was going to have some trouble because it uses some fancy bitwise operation on unsigned integer, and I thought gdscript would have some trouble with that, but I managed to do it, and it seems to work really fine, and it wasn't as difficult as I thought, so I'm really happy for that. Yay for gdscript. And then when all that was implemented, I spent some time tweaking the numbers, adding a few things in my JSONs, adding a few items, so that the player wasn't dying right at the first encounter, but also that he would eventually run out of energy or health or stuff if he's not careful. And it's working pretty well, but I know it's not the last of the tweaking I have to do. First of all, every time I'm gonna add something, I'm gonna have to add more stuff, and I'm gonna have to keep rebalancing everything. But also, I'm doing it right now because I don't have a lot of experience doing balancing, and I'm a little bit worried about it. I already feel like I'm kind of boxing myself in with all the requirements I'm putting in, and I have to be careful. At the same time, I'm kind of looking forward to crunching numbers and seeing what are the statistics for the player and how much health he's gonna lose on average on each encounter based on the strength of the ship and the weapons he has equipped and all that. So it's gonna be a lot of fun, but I have to be a little bit careful. Let's have a deeper look at some of these features I've implemented. So first, the death menu is basically just a pop-up like all my other pop-up. I'm kind of hoping to have a leaderboard and maybe some conduct and stuff like that, like you have in NetHack. But for now, it's a very simple menu. The way it works right now is that, for example, in the damage system, when the player takes enough damage to kill him, the damage system is going to emit this on-player death signal. And it's going to do a couple of things. First, there's the level loader that's registering on the on-player death. And what it does is that he just deletes the player save game. It's a traditional in roguelike, you cannot load. When you die, so that's how it's done. And then I have this new system called the scoring behavior. And this system, it's basically going to keep track of all your conduct and the scoring and all this kind of stuff. But it's also registering on the player death to push the menu and make the death screen pop up. So when the player dies, it's going to just pop this menu and it's going to give you your score and where you died and some information about it, kind of like a tombstone in NetHack. And then when you click OK, it's just going to load the next scene. And the next scene is the main menu that I added. And I added it as a new scene because I was thinking that when you start the game at the beginning, probably this is going to be the scene that's going to be starting. Right now it starts with the in-game But eventually there's going to be some kind of main menu where you can select your player, or where you have options to choose and change sounds and keyboard options and stuff like that. And I want this to be a fairly lightweight scene that doesn't have to load everything else, because that way I can split my loading into two sections. So there's the main game loading that's going to happen after you start the game from the main menu, and then there's the main menu loading that will just load the bare minimum that you need to show the game. And that's nice because it means that you can get into the game faster when you start it. And I think it's important, especially if I'm planning to release this on mobile. You don't want a game that loads for like two minutes at the beginning. Now, I'm not sure if my game stays very simple and ASCII based, the loading might really be fast anyway. But if I have enough graphics and everything, it's possible it'll take a couple of seconds to load. And if I can get in the main menu that much faster, then it's just better. So next, why did I decide to implement my own pseudo-random generation? There's a couple of reasons for this. I've had to work on games with heavy random generation before. And one of the things that's difficult when you're using like the implementation that comes with the game is that, for example, if I build on Linux, or if I build for Android or for iOS, using the same seed, since the base implementation might be different by compiler, I'm going to get different random number. But if I use my own implementation, I know that if I use a specific seed, I'm always going to get the same result no matter what platform I'm on, which really, really helps when you're debugging some issue specific to like a certain level or something that you want it to be generated exactly the same way. Also, I chose the Mersenne Twister because it's a pseudo-random number generator that's actually pretty good. It's been developed since 1997, so it's pretty old, and I'm sure there's better one nowadays, but it's still quite used everywhere. It's license free, and it's fairly accurate. It has a long period, which means you can generate a lot of number before you start seeing like some kind of pattern. And even though it has some disadvantage like memory or something, 2.5 kilobyte is really nothing. And true, you might be able to like guess it after a couple of random number, but you'd have to be able to see the number for that. And in the game I'm running like I mean, it's still difficult. I mean, you can do it if you really want to hack the game, but I mean, I don't really care past that point. One of the reasons I like to use my own implementation is that I kind of can trust my own implementation. I've done tests on it and I know it's working really well. For example, I did like 10,000 throws and I've plotted the number of time each number came out, and I did it several times, and I can see that there's absolutely no pattern. Like here, like I get less 33 or something, but here 33 is actually really big, and you know, I see that there's no pattern, and I can trust that this is a very good random generation. I made this another global autoload thing. So it's basically a static that I can call, and I can initialize it with some random seed, or I can set my own seed and make sure I have the same level every time. Like I was saying before in another episode, I use this right now so that it's just easier to test quickly and iterate and always have the same thing. And yeah, that's basically it. This is just a port of some C++ I used to have. The only thing I had to make sure is that I capped my my calculation all the time to 32 bits, because the implementation I'm using is 32-bit. But aside from that, it worked surprisingly well. Another advantage, I don't know if other random generation have that too, but since the Mersenne Twister is generating some kind of array that is used to generate the next numbers, what is really nice is that you can save this array as a kind of current state of the randomizer, and you can always load it, or you can go back in time by saving previous iteration. And so it means you can move back and forth in your number generation. You can figure out what was the number you threw the last time if you save the state. And this can have some interesting advantage if you need to play back some of the previous move. For example, if you have some issues with your random generation or something, you can just like go back in time or move forward and look forward in time to what's going to be happening in the next few iterations. It also means that I could, for example, prevent save scumming, where the person just reloads the game until he gets the result he wants, because I can save the state. He's guaranteed to always get the same result every time he loads the game. I don't know if I'm going to be using any of these things for such a simple game, but it's nice to know that it's there, right? So all in all, it was a pretty good week, but now I'm kind of faced with a strange problem that I'm not quite sure what to do next. I mean, I have a million things I can implement, but I don't know which of these things should take priority. And I have also the fact that I'm, this thing is starting to look less and less like a prototype and more like an actual game I could release. And as I think of this, I start to think about what's the actual look and feel I want for this game, what's the graphic design I want. And I can do a little bit of art, but there's a lot of people way better than me at this, and there's not that many people worse than me. So I have to think about how I'm gonna hire some artists maybe to do some of the pixel art for it. If you know anyone, let me know in the comment, and I'll be sure to check them out because I'm really looking for it. If you're an artist and you love pixel art based game and your fascination for science fiction, then I'd be more than willing to talk with you about some kind of agreement we could come up for some design on my game. So let me know in the comment or send me even an email if you're interested. I'm listening. So until next time, see you guys. Bye!